Hi investors, welcome to the channel, Kylie here. So today I'm going to be running through the eTORO investment platform. It's a pretty unique app. It lets you trade stocks, cryptocurrencies, forex, as well as commodities. Plus it has a few unique features. For example, it's copy trading and portfolio features. We'll take a look at those. And I'll run through how to buy, sell, and short assets on eTORO, including with leverage. And we'll take a look at the feeds and how it compares to others on the market. Okay, so I've just opened up eTORO on my desktop. There's also a mobile version of eTORO, by the way. Just depends what you prefer. Okay, so starting with the home screen, you can see here I've got a virtual portfolio. One of the great features of eTORO is that it lets you play with play money, essentially. It lets you have $100,000 of play money, and you can switch between your virtual portfolio and your real portfolio. So I'm just going to be looking at the virtual portfolio that I set up about 8 months ago, I think. So far I've got 136 in there. Not too bad from, 100,000 to start with, and 7,000 still sitting in cash. Makes you wish it was real money. And if you scroll down on the home screen, you can see there's a news feed of people commenting. You can add your own comments, or you can reply to others if you want. So you can see it's a really social trading app. Okay, and if I want to head over to my portfolio, I can see some of the trades that I've made, and I can see all of the open positions that I currently have. So I'm holding some US stocks, I'm holding a crypto portfolio here. I'm also tracking gold, or at least gold prices. I've got Ethereum in here, and I'm copying the portfolio of a top trader. eToro also has top traders that you can follow the trades of, and you can see that he's done pretty well since I invested with him. He's got a 53% return, which is nice. And since I fake invested 14,000 with him, it's made a nice return of 7,916. You've also got a watch list here, which is where you can select a list of stocks or assets like commodities or cryptocurrencies that you want to track, and you can get alerts. Okay, here in the Discover tab is where you'll find all the different types of options you get with eToro. So this is where you'll find your stocks, your crypto, your indices, your ETFs. You've got commodities here, like I said. You'll find your list of copy traders. You'll find your list of smart portfolios, like I said, the mini kind of ETFs. And you'll just see a list of, daily movers, like best performing, worst performing, or trending stocks. So this is a great place to go to get ideas or to understand what eToro is offering. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through how you place a trade on eToro. And I'm going to start with just your regular stock. All right, so let's just start with a basic stock. We're just going to go with Apple. Okay, so this window here shows your different order options. So you can set an at market order, you can set a rate order, you can split between the two. At market order means that your order will go through at the price that the asset or the stock is currently trading. So at whatever price the trade is executed at, that's what you'll get. Whereas the rate order is just like your typical limit order, which is what it's usually called on other apps. It's a limit order where you set the price that you want to buy in or sell the stock or asset. So for example, Apple is trading at 149, and I don't want to buy in until it drops. Maybe I think it's going to drop to 130. I mean, that's a decent sized drop. And then I can set here the amount that I want to invest. So let's just say $100. There is a minimum order of $50 on eToro, so you wouldn't be able to go less than 50 anyway. So say in this case, I'm investing $50 and I'm setting a rate order, which means that this won't buy up any stocks unless the stock price falls to 130. And you can also see here, there's a message that says you're buying the underlying asset. All trading on eToro is commission free. That means you pay no brokerage fee to the broker. So a lot of trading apps actually charge a brokerage fee. So every time you hit buy or sell, or every time you execute a trade, you're charged a fee for that. With some brokers, for example, Australia's largest broker, CommSec, those fees start pretty high. So they start around $10 at a minimum. Others, like Superhero, which is one of the cheapest brokers in Australia, they charge from $5. So eToro offering zero brokerage per trade for US stock trading and other global stocks, but that doesn't mean it's free. There are other fees involved, and we'll get to those later. And the other point worth taking note of, it says you're buying the underlying asset here. So what does that mean? Well, eToro has two options when it comes to trading. You can either trade the CFD, which is a contract for difference, or you can trade the underlying asset itself. You're actually buying and selling the asset. When you're trading CFDs, you never actually own the underlying asset. You're trading derivatives contracts. So contracts for difference, derivatives contracts that lets you basically profit from price fluctuations. So you can profit whether or not the stock is going up or down. So you can also short the market. When you short the market, you always need some kind of contract. You could be using options trading, for example. In the US, options is the more popular option. Here in Australia and in Europe, CFDs are very popular. So that's what eToro uses, CFDs. Now, I know that CFDs are banned in the United States, and I also know that eToro is launching in the United States, if not already. So I'm not 100% sure whether or not there will be some kind of a leveraged option for US traders. They might just bring in options trading, which is like what Robinhood has, for example, or they might just scrap leverage options altogether and only allow you to trade the underlying asset. Okay, so you can see here though that I can change that if I want to. So that would be, if I'm trading the underlying asset, that is 1 times leverage. So there's no leverage being added to my trade here. But if I want to, I can change that to 2 times leverage or 5 times leverage. So if you're using leverage, it essentially means you're using borrowed funds to make this trade. So if you're going long and the stock price is going up, then you're going to get 5 times what you would have in profit than if you were just trading the underlying asset, which is 1 times leverage. By that same token, you'll also lose 5 times as much if the price goes in the opposite direction to what you're betting on. So say in this case, I want to go long on Apple and I'm going 2 times leverage. When you're trading with eToro, you also must add a stop loss order. You can see here that they also include a minimum level that the stop loss must be placed at. So you're not allowed to lose more than what you've invested, essentially, which is, I think, a very good thing. But for now, I'm just going to keep it at $50. I'm going to have a $50 stop loss, which means that I can't lose any more than $50. If I do, the position will close. I can also add a trailing stop loss here, which essentially recalculates depending on the price. So instead of just having a single number, $50, it will turn that into a percentage of the price it is now, and it will maintain that percentage depending on the price of the stock. And then you can also have a take profit as well, which means that you want to close the position once you earn a certain amount of money. So say I've made $1,000 from this trade. I don't want it to fall back down again. I don't want to lose out there. I'm just going to hold until that happens. Then you can set a take profit at $1,000 and the trade will also close at that point too. So here it's a very simple trade. I'm not going to lose less than $50 and I'm not going to make more than $100. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I would set the order. And I've got 2 times leverage as well, I've got to say. Okay, so now I'm just going to run through how to do the same, but kind of the opposite, which is how to short a stock using eToro. Okay, so for those that aren't super sure what short selling is, it basically just means you're betting that the price is going to fall instead of rise in the future, and you want to make some money on that. There's a whole bunch of videos on how short selling works. That's a really simple explanation for you. I'm going to select the sell option. You can see here it says sell. So this time let's just set it as a market order, and I'm going to invest again $100 in there at this one. We're going to set a stop loss again of 50. I'm going to do 2 times leverage, and we're going to set the take profit at $1,000. And you can see here it actually reaches a limit depending on what asset you're trading. So it says, you can't take profit higher than 1,000%, which is fair enough. And so if I set that order, instead of making a profit as the stock price goes up, it's going to start making a profit if it goes down literally from this point, from 149. It's worth also noting here this overnight fee of 0.02 cents, and there's a weekend fee of 0.5, which is a really small fee, but it's something to bear in mind that if this order doesn't execute because, say, you don't hit that stop loss price and you don't hit that take profit point either, that could, last overnight. It could last several days depending on what trading app you're using, for example. Not a huge amount, but it's definitely something to take into consideration. So I'm going to set that order now. So you can see here, I've got there are two orders that essentially cancel each other out. So one is shorting the market and one is going long. Okay, so that's the basics of stock trading. You'll find that there are slightly different leverage and stop loss rules depending on what asset you're trading. So for example, cryptocurrency, it's a little bit more strict, or you will see that information pop up when you go to place the trade. So I'm just going to go with Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin. An interesting point worth mentioning is that up until really, really recently, eToro only offered CFDs on cryptocurrencies. So you couldn't actually own the underlying cryptocurrency. You could only trade on the prices. So just heading back to the Discover tab, we're just going to take a look at some of the top traders. Okay, so here's a list of the top traders. You can either choose the ones that eToro has put forward, or you can follow the most popular ones or the trending ones, or you can find some that match your preferences. So I don't know, maybe I prefer to follow somebody in Australia because that's where I am. And I'd like that person to invest in any market will do as long as it's doing well. And you could say at least 10% in the last 12 months, or you could set a smaller time frame. I'm going to say at least 50%. I'd want to be tracking someone who's really good. And looking at a lot of these returns, I can see that's probably not going to be too hard. My guess is that a lot of these people are probably invested in cryptocurrencies, which has done phenomenally well over the last 12 months. Okay, so it's shown me a list of different options here. And you can also see here what different risk levels these guys are at. So I had a look at what the risk levels mean and how they're calculated. And it's basically an algorithm that eToro has put together to try and classify how risky their trading is. And risk is essentially based around how volatile the assets are within the portfolio, essentially, as well as how exposed their portfolios are to potential loss. So assume that you're probably not going to be in a super safe portfolio if you're getting returns of 50% plus. Although interestingly, I think 4's pretty low risk. I might copy this guy. That being said, you can see he's got 0 people copying him. So maybe you want to copy somebody who actually has others following. I don't know, it's up to you. So apart from the copy trading features, you can also invest in these portfolios, which are kind of like these mini ETFs. And I really like these too. Like if you go back to my portfolio from before, you'll notice that I'd invested in a cryptocurrency portfolio. And it is far and away one of the best performing investments on my list. So you can see here, crypto portfolio. I invested 12,420, which is a random amount. I don't know why I did that. And so far it has gained 42% since I invested, and I would have invested in that not very long ago, just a few months ago. So that's a pretty good return. So I've clicked through onto the crypto portfolio, and you can see obviously that it's 100% crypto. So relatively, high risk. I love the fact that you can invest in a diversified portfolio of crypto assets through this fund. It's a unique thing because, you don't have any mixed diversified ETFs yet that are listed, at least not within the US, Australia, or Canada. So this is kind of a unique way to get around what has kind of been a roadblock by regulators. But you can see here there's a China car portfolio. You've got a fashion portfolio, which is a list of leading fashion stocks. You've got this driverless car portfolio, which is if you believe in the future of electronic vehicles and autonomous cars, you can use this one. I'm going to click on this actually, assuming it's going to be pretty bullish on Tesla. Okay, great. So now I'm going to talk about the fees that eToro offers compared to other brokers out there. So Got the fees starting with the zero brokerage per trade, which is really good. There are now quite a lot of brokers out there, especially in the United States, that offer zero brokerage trading. In fact, in a lot of places, it's kind of the norm. So it kind of depends on where you live, and it kind of also depends on whether or not eToro is actually available in your market. But here in Australia, at least, there are about 5 or 6 online brokers that offer zero brokerage trading for US and some global stocks. So when you're looking at zero brokerage trading, you want to look at the other fees involved. And the big fee that you'd be looking at here would be the foreign exchange fee if you're trading in anything other than US dollars. So here in Australia, you need to look at 50 pips is the currency conversion fee. That is to convert your Australian dollars into US dollars. You can't trade on eToro unless you're using US dollars. And the same would be the case in other markets as well. Okay, so I've just jumped on to an article that I wrote a while ago, just comparing zero brokerage platforms, just to see how the fees and features compared. So here in Australia, those would be Superhero, IG, CMC, Stake, and eToro. And then I also added here a column which looks at whether or not they offer Australian shares, so that's ASX brokerage. So you can see here really the big comparison point for US stocks when it's zero brokerage is the foreign exchange fee. It's a really big point to look at. The spread is really hard to compare because it can differ from day to day. But here you can see Superhero, for instance, offers 0.50 US cents for every AUD 100, and the same goes for eToro. And then you've got Stake, which is a little higher, and then IG and CMC markets is 70% and 60%. So what these fees end up being, it kind of depends on the day, but typically I sort of worked out these numbers just the other day. They typically sit around the 70% mark. So if you're trying to compare these to, say, IG, then, you know, this one here, eToro's 0.50 cents for every AUD 100, sits at around 0.7%. Just totally depends on how the AUD to USD dollar is sitting at that moment in time, essentially. The other fee that you really need to think about is the spread. And this is a fee that's not usually taken into account simply because you don't really see it as a fee. It's a small percentage taken out when you're placing the trade, and you never actually see what that is. It's the difference between the bid and the sell price, essentially. So back when I was showing you the window, you could see the sell price and the buy price that was being offered. The actual price is somewhere in between that, and eToro will take a cut on either side. It will depend on the day that the day and the asset that you're trading. But I did download a PDF just to look at some of the examples, some of the spreads that that would be taken out if you were trading. CFDs on commodities, and it shows you an example of how they'd work that out. So I can see the typical spread for one oil asset is 5 pips. That's their typical spread. If you want to take a look at how these extra fees are tacked onto your trades. And it's worth bearing in mind that a lot of brokers do this, or pretty much all brokers add some kind of a spread, especially if they're not charging a brokerage fee. Okay, so the currency conversion fee, the spread, there's the inactivity fee, which is $10 a year. $10 a month. That's if you don't log in after a year. So if you've got like $500 sitting in there and you're just letting it sit there and you haven't logged into your account in over a year, you're going to get $10 coming out each month until it disappears, gets to zero essentially. There are also overnight fees charged, which you could see when I was carrying out a trade. It will tell you in that trade how much the overnight fee is, which is really good. And this can differ depending on the asset, like I said again. Interesting point, or important point at least, is that the fees are charged every day at 5 p.m. in New York time. So if you're in Australia or somewhere outside New York, it's important to keep in mind that's when it will happen, in New York time. Cool, and there's also a withdrawal fee. So if you're cashing out money, you want to withdraw your profits, you're going to get $5 charge every time you do that. Okay, so that was my walkthrough of the eToro trading app. Essentially, there are a lot that I like about eToro. For instance, I like its copy trading feature. I like its portfolios that you can invest in. I like the fact that you can trade not just stocks, but now cryptocurrencies. And now you can actually own the underlying cryptocurrencies, which is massive. Here in Australia, it's actually the only platform that I know of where you can buy and sell stocks directly and actually own them alongside cryptocurrency holdings, which is really great. Love the portfolios, love the copy trading features. The fees are pretty good. Zero brokerage is obviously pretty standard in a lot of places, but it's not that widespread in Australia yet, so it's still a standout feature. And the forex currency conversion fee is just kind of standard. It's not particularly high, it's not particularly low. I like the fact that you can trade not just US stocks, but also Hong Kong stock, tap into the Chinese markets a bit easier. I also like the fact that you can tap into European stocks. I love the fact that it's super user-friendly. There are actually a lot of training courses and educational resources with eToro. It's got a specific platform for that. I didn't go into it because there's too much to go into. So some of my cons would be the fact that you can't yet trade Australian stocks on it, at least at the time this video was recorded. I love Australian stocks, so I always want a platform that offers that. That being said, you can have one platform that does one thing. So you could have one platform that offers Australian stocks and another platform that just offers US or global stocks. That's pretty common. I don't like the fact that you don't have a huge amount of control over your orders. So you've got your limit order and your market order, but you don't have a lot of in between. So other trading platforms, for example, Interactive Brokers or CommSec in Australia, they offer, like 10 or so different order option types just to give you total control over your order. eToro, on the other hand, like a lot of kind of budget brokers that offer zero brokerage transactions, usually only have a limit order, market order type, and then they might add a couple of other things like the stop loss and the take profit. It's pretty common in the US as well, like Robinhood's very similar. So those are the big pros and cons of eToro. Would I use it? Yeah, I would. And especially after having looked at my portfolio that I set up, it's done really well for the last 6 months or so. It makes me wish I'd actually put that into real money. Anyway, that's my walkthrough of the eToro review. Let me know if you liked it, didn't like it. Would you like me to run through another platform? And do you have any questions that you want answered about eToro? Leave your comments in the section below. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want more like this.